I'd like to thank all the chiefs for being here again. I said chief and everybody in the room looked up. Thank y'all for being here. I'd like to call to order the November 3, 2015 meeting of the Buncombe County Board of Commissioners. And if you would join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, we'll get our meeting started. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And if you'll join me in our invocation. Today, citizens across the country will elect representatives to guide the local, state, and federal projects and budgets that affect all of our lives. We hold up for thanks the good men and women who have put their reputations, history, vision, and character up for public examination and judgment today. Give each voter the discernment, discretion, and information to make good decisions that allows their vote to reflect their philosophy and desire for what government should look like. Help our wonderful and very hardworking staff to continue to provide good customer service, kind and caring interaction with the citizens who pay their salary with hard-earned taxes set by these newly elected boards and groups that we will decide today. After the joy of winning an election fades, give each elected official the wisdom, good judgment, compassion, empathy, and love for their work and the people who will rely on them for their term for leadership and progress in their respective communities. We are fortunate to live in a community where the changes in leaderships are made peacefully and without violence. Thank you for the opportunity to live in the best country in the history of our world. Amen.
Yeah.
In accordance with the Code of Ethics adopted by the Commission, all county commissioners have a duty to obey all applicable laws regarding their official actions, to uphold the integrity and independence of the office, to avoid impropriety in the exercise of their official duties, and to faithfully perform the duties of our office, and also to conduct the affairs of the governing board in an open and public manner. Is there any item on the agenda, the outcome of which will have a direct, substantial, and readily identifiable financial impact for any board member? Hearing none, does any board member have a financial interest in any contract that might come before the Commission today? I find that there are no conflicts tonight, and all board members will have a duty and obligation to vote on each matter coming before us. Next, we're going to go on to public comment. The time limit for any comment to the board is 3 minutes. If your time expires, you may leave any question along with your name, address, phone number, and email with the county clerk. Commissioners are not expected to comment on matters during public comment. This is your time to talk to us. Comments should be limited to subjects that are within the jurisdiction of the Commission or pertain to matters upon which we might act. Any individual speaking during public comment shall address the entire Commission. Any polling of board members is inappropriate. Persons addressing the board are expected to observe the decorum of the chamber and to be respectful of everyone in the room. Any person who willfully interrupts, disturbs, or disrupts the session will be asked to leave the meeting. The Commission reserves the right to deny any public address on any subject previously presented to our board. Based on those comments, do we have any public comment tonight? Yes, ma'am. And then Mr. Rice, you can come on up. If you'll go up and we'll get you started right over here, ma'am. And Mr. Rice, you'll be next. You can come on up. Anybody want to speak after Mr. Rice? Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. If you'll give your name and where you live, too. Thank you.
Vivian Fowler, and I live in Aston Park Towers. I am working with the community service navigators for the food pantries, and I've been doing the shopping, and it's come to my attention that the Buncombe County Commissioners are helping to support this with some funding, and I want to say on behalf of all the hungry in Asheville, God bless you and thank you.
Thank you, Vivian. Thank you for working them. Yes, sir, Mr. Rice.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. It's always nice to be older, you know. You get the reverence of being called Mr. Of course, I don't recognize myself as being older. Dave, you older than I am. Anyway, at the last meeting on the fire tax, Mr. Chairman, I wish to bring this to your attention. I started not to, but I think it needs to be clarified on the $1.50 and how that affects each fire department and the community and the tax, because I think it was a misconception on my part as well that I thought the fire departments could take and go to $1.50. I mean, that's the way it was presented, and that's the way I heard it. I didn't see a clarity on it, and if we could get that today, it would be great.
Okay, I asked Mr. Fruit to address that. Thank you.
And the next thing, the Veterans Treatment Court funding. I certainly am appreciative of that coming this way. We've got a lot of veterans in our area, and we need to really respect that and help them. I think there's some disadvantages that I see, not with this piece of it, but going forward, I think there needs to be a focus on the children of the veterans. I don't know of anything that has a clear focus just on the children part of it. Now, DSS might have some things a little bit here and there, but I think there needs to be a true focus on that population and have it in a way that we're bringing it out just like we are the adult part. I know that we deal with a lot of kids ourselves with school issues, and I think that that would really help, because these kids are probably facing things that the other population don't face exactly the same way. I think that would be something. The other thing is the veterans. I think that there needs to be a focus and maybe a committee put together to look at what the veterans could offer to our community in law enforcement, in other ways, because they have specialized training that we should really be looking into, because I think that they could be in a way of volunteering in certain avenues that would benefit our law enforcement in a great way. If they go and protect our nation, I'm sure they can protect Buncombe County. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rice. Any other members of the public wish to be heard during public comment? Seeing none, we'll go on to our next item, and that is a discussion of and approval of the agenda as it's been published, which means we'll also adopt the consent agenda. Is there a discussion or motion on that issue?
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Frost, a second by Commissioner Jones. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. By a 7-0 vote, we have adopted the agenda as it's proclaimed. Actually, as it's printed, and Mr. Vice Chair is going to proclaim Adoption Awareness Month. Joe? And I think Tammy and Angie here. Oh, thank you.
Okay, so I jumped at the opportunity to do this, and I want you to indulge me for just about a minute. I have a new adopted grandbaby, little boy. He's just a few weeks old, and my son and his wife were able to adopt him. They found out that there was a young lady that had decided that she wanted to allow this to happen, and just a joyous joyous thing to happen in our family. And his name is AJ, and he is very, very cool. So, and we're so excited about it. And you know, for me to had a grandson, and you know that my daughter had given birth to, you always think about when you first look at an adoptive grandchild. Will it be any different? It's no different at all. It's an instantaneous love for these children. So it is my honor on behalf of the board to read this proclamation today. In the County of Buncombe, proclamation of November as Adoption Awareness Month. Whereas Adoptive Awareness Month is celebrated to call attention to the fact that every child deserves to grow up in a loving, nurturing, permanent home, and that this experience lays the foundation for a happy, productive adulthood. And whereas in Buncombe, in North Carolina last year, there were approximately 9,825 children living away from their birth parents. 1,074 of these children were adopted. And whereas in Buncombe County, there are 291 children in foster care, and adoption is the permanency plan for approximately 90 children who are waiting for a forever family. And whereas during the month of November, Buncombe County Human Services, private adoption agencies, the faith community, and local advocacy groups will participate in a statewide public awareness campaign around adoption. This collaborative effort will focus greater attention on children who need permanent adoptive families and honor families who have adopted children. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of Commissioners for the County of Buncombe as follows, that the month of November 2015 be proclaimed Adoption Awareness Month in Buncombe County, that all citizens, community agencies, religious organizations, businesses, and others be encouraged to celebrate adoption and honor adoptive families by learning more about the issues of adoption and helping to focus attention on the need for adoptive parents and the children who are waiting for permanent homes. And 3, that this proclamation be effective upon its adoption. Adopted this the 20th day of October 2015, Buncombe County Board, Buncombe County Commissioners, County of Buncombe, signed by David Gant, and I move adoption, Chairman, of this proclamation.
All righty, there's been a motion. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Thank you.
Sure, I wanted to say a few words. Thank you for your story. I think that is so incredible, and I know if we had our foster and adoptive parents here with us right now, that they would echo the same sentiments that the commissioner stated about their adopted children are no different than their own biological children. So we are so blessed to have so many wonderful foster parents who are able to provide forever homes for our children. And in the past fiscal year, we were able to work on 40 adoptions. We had 40 children who were in care who were adopted by forever homes. So we are so pleased about that. And we also have an adoption options, it's called. It's an adoption fair. And it's going to be on Saturday, the 13th at Jones Elementary at 1 o'clock. We're going to have children's showcase who are looking for forever homes, so it's open to the public. We'd love to see you there. And again, thank you so much for this.
Get the Sloan delegation. Come on, parents, principals. Cindy. We have Cindy McMahon here with the Reynolds representative of the Buncombe County School Board. We have Mr. and Ms. Sloan, Gerald and Steve, and we have principal of Reynolds. Thank you so much for being here. I have known Noah since he was a baby. And it's just been a pleasure to watch you grow into the young man you've developed into, and obviously learned how to play the trombone pretty good. So it's our pleasure, Noah, to present this plaque. This board does hereby recognize and honor with great pride your accomplishments of becoming a member of the U.S. All-American Marching Band for 2016. We commend your dedication and hard work that made your success possible. You have brought honor to Buncombe County, and we wish you continued success in all you do. Let's give it up. All-American musician. Let's give him a big ovation. Parents, y'all, how about that? I can go over and sing
That's great.
That's 3 trombones.
That's amazing.
Well, just really quick, I'd like to say thank you so much for the support here. It's been a lot of work to get here, and it's great to see the support from the community. Very excited for this opportunity, and I can't wait to go represent the county. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I would like to thank and recognize Steve, has served on many county committees, most recently the Environmental Advisory Board, and been a real active member in our community, and thank you. Thank all of you. It's an honor to have you here. Anytime we have All-American status to one of our students, we want to recognize them. Thank you, Ms. McCann, for being here, and we appreciate that. All righty. Next up, I have public hearings.
Let's do it.
First of all, we're going to have Mr. Frew explain the
Presentation excellence.
presentation of excellence. Okay, I left my sheet. Part of my
Is
problem.
that what you were looking for?
Look. We have, that's why I shouldn't give presentations.
You have that one.
Thank you. We have a presentation by David Nicholson, who is the North Carolina Association of County Commission Western Outreach Representative, and Aston Turnage from the LGFCU was going to present an award. And David, it is an honor to have you appear before us. He is a veteran of County Commissioner's Office and long-term many counties, most recently, I think, Henderson, and we are just glad to have you back in town. Thank you.
It's always a pleasure to be here at the Buncombe County Board of Commissioners meeting, and people ask me all the time, did I move to Raleigh? And the answer is no. I still live in Etowah, so in case you're going to find me, I'm just down the road a little piece. So it is a pleasure to be here tonight, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, staff. I always love doing these awards. This is the Credit Unions Award that they've been doing for a number of years now. It's an excellence and innovation program that we do across the state. Association sponsors it, but the credit union actually is very heavily involved, and we'll explain to that in just a second here. We have this program, counties submit programs that they do that are innovative in nature. They have to have measurable results. They have to be something that another county can look at and say, how can we use this in our own community? And I think that's really important. So your program is one of those programs that was selected by county commissioners across the state, by county managers across the state, and other staff members who chose 10 programs across the state to get this award. So I'm really pleased to be here tonight to tell you one of your programs won this award for this year. It's your Community Service Navigator Pop-Up Markets Award. And if you will indulge me, I'm going to ask Mandy to her and her staff give you just a quick update on what the program is. You don't need to hear from me. This is their program. They need to be recognized for what they do.
Well, Chairman and Commissioners, as Rashida McDaniels makes her way up, I want to say 2 quick things. All I can say is we could not do this work if it were not for the culture you set that both allows us to be innovative and allows us to invest in prevention and community engagement and build partnerships in a way that's unique to county government. This is one program that's been recognized across the nation. I'm going to let Rashida talk about that. But as I do that, I want to say about Rashida. Rashida is our community engagement manager. And she's a person who is a longtime social worker and social work supervisor who spent her 40th birthday knocking on doors on our most vulnerable communities on a Saturday saying, how do we make a better connection between health and human services and you? And that's the passion Rashida brings to everything she does. So I'll let Rashida talk about it. She did the work.
Thank you. I'm Rashida McDaniels, and I first have to have my community service navigators and volunteers to stand up. And I want to explain what the pop-ups mean. It is a partnership that we have with Manna Food Bank where we can get free produce and bread and give it out to the communities at no cost. But something larger than that is that we have community resources at this pop-up where we can reach 50 families at one time. And I can't tell you how many times that I get a phone call every week, every other day, about the families who go hungry in our community. So I am so happy that I have commissioners that stand by this wonderful program that I can't tell you that the next lady at Aston Park Towers and 9 communities that we're in, that the elderly are not eating dog food, that have money to pay for their medications because we are in the communities to serve. They will tell you that the volunteers and the navigators mean a whole lot to me, and I almost get emotional even explaining it.
Sure.
Because we are doing the work out there, and it's important to us to show the work. I can't tell you how many adverse conditions that are in this community that violence happens every day, and you have such beautiful people in this community to take care of themselves. I can't tell you they go to Manna in their own cars, they spend their own gas, they bring the food back, they invite their neighbors, they make sure the elderly and disabled are fed. They have a buddy system in Bartley Arms because we've experienced so many loss there that they go check on each other every other day, that we find no one deceased in their apartments. This work is real, and I can't tell you how proud I am to work with such a beautiful body of community of people in this community. I really appreciate that. I really do. And I have to say one more thing, and the community service navigators, not only do we do these pop-ups, we connect people to resources based on the need. So if someone calls me, when it happens every day, we tell no one no. We don't make any promises. We go to the house within 24 hours, or we call families within 24 hours, whoever asks for help. It could be simply as I need some bleach or some hair grease. It does not matter. We make it happen. It could be food, medication, whatever people need, we try our best to get it there. So I can't tell you again how thankful I am that you allow me the flexibility and the leadership to have in this community to make this happen. So thank you.
Don't you go anywhere yet. Now that's exciting, ladies and gentlemen. Isn't that very exciting for your community that's doing this? And so, first of all, we ask, on behalf of the North Carolina Associated County Commissioners, we have a plaque for you, and then I'll ask Ashley Turnage from the credit union to make another presentation. But to all your volunteers and to Chief Rashida, congratulations on this award. Congratulations, thank you. And this is Ashley Turnage from the credit union.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Because I have a very important part. I'm Ashton. I'm with Local Government Federal Credit Union, and for you guys who don't know who we are, which I know these guys, firefighters, better know who we are. We are the credit union for local government employees and volunteers. We have a very special relationship with State Employees Credit Union, to which I'm sure all of you guys have heard of. We share branches with them, and they are our source of operations. And LGFCU takes pride in the fact that we really try to be involved in our communities, try to help out the community as much as we can, and this is one of the ways that we hope, in a small way, we can recognize awesome things that are happening in the community. So on behalf of Local Government Federal Credit Union, I'm presenting you with a $1,000 check, and congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And there you go.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, guys.
Navigators and volunteers, I'd like a picture with the award, please. This is from County Line.
That little baby is so cute. Got a future navigator in there.
Thank you for the wonderful program, and thank you for the recognition. We hope it spreads across the state, and Ashton and David, thank you for being here for the presentation. Next, we have Mr. Michael Frew, County Attorney, that's going to talk about our potential discussion of the Asheville Technology Park revenue bonds.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, this is a follow-up. Several months ago, you may remember, AVL Technology came in here as an incentive project, and this commission awarded them several $100,000 over a period of time for an investment in infrastructure and the creation of jobs. This is a follow-up on that on the same campus there in Woodfin on what is now North Merriman Avenue. Had yesterday, they're requesting tax-exempt bonds through the Buncombe County Industrial Facilities Pollution Control Financing Authority, and that authority had a meeting yesterday and approved in principle the issuance of its bonds, with which is contingent upon the approval of this board, for the aggregate principal amount of up to $6,800,000 for financing the acquisition, construction, equipment of an industrial project located in the county. If you've been up through Woodfin lately, you've noticed that there's been more construction right next to the AVL Technology Park, and this is part of that. What we have today with us to give you some more nuts and bolts of this, or their attorney, Mr. Jim Oliver, is here, along with Brian Kearns and their attorney, Guy Clarici. And I'll just ask one of them or all of them to come up and tell us what this is about in terms of actual project criteria.
Thank you.
But again, the authority has approved it, and with this board's approval, the process continues to get approval of the LGC, and then to come back to the authority board just for final approval of the documents as submitted. Here you go, guys.
Hi, I'm Guy Clarici, and I'll let Brian Kearns tell you about the project itself, but I would like to mention that the county, no county funds, no taxpayer funds are being used for these bonds, and there's no cost or liability to the county at all in these bonds. Basically, under the North Carolina statute, it's a vehicle to get these bonds issued. There's a buyer in place for the bonds, and all liability and costs get passed through to AVL Technologies. So with that, I'd like to introduce Brian Kearns, who'll tell you about the project.
See if I can get you some materials here. I have a presentation if you would like to see it. Are you interested in that, or would you like me to proceed with paper? What would be easier for y'all?
Just paper's good.
Paper? Okay.
Thank you. Does any member of the board want to have a presentation? These are as Guy said, this is no obligation to the county. This is a procedural maneuver to fund various projects, right, and as you'll explain.
So since we saw you all in June, we have broken ground in North Asheville. Our facility that we operate out of today is 55,000 square feet, and it's adjacent to the Woodfin YMCA. We're really anxious to get this project up out of the ground and built so that we can get folks in it, local technology companies, possibly some graduates that are successful graduates of AB Tech incubator program. Jim was, at the time they didn't call it an incubator, but was really the first successful company to graduate and through AB Tech, through their incubator program. Jim hails from Atlanta. I'm a Western North Carolina native from Mitchell County. And there's a good chance this project is going to go well because we have to live right across the street from it and operate on a daily basis. So we're out there making sure that, that things go right. Did you want to talk about the project at all?
You can go ahead.
The other thing I wanted to mention as far as the layout, we want this to be called AVL Technology Park because we want to bring in some other innovative technology companies to North Asheville. I don't think there's one in the county today that really, at least in North Asheville, that is focused on bringing in manufacturing jobs, and we want to manufacture high-tech products. AVL manufactures satellite antennas. We'd like to bring in some other companies that build some other items that go on our antennas to make them operate. So we built the space as it's dividable. We have a tenant that is looking to come in to the largest side of the space with 20,000 square feet, and about 5,000 square feet of office space. They haven't signed a lease yet, but they're on the hook for it. We've got some agreements in place, and they will come in and manufacture products alongside us. We also have 5,000 square feet of available manufacturing space that will be going out and looking for companies, again, hopefully some that have graduated from the AB Tech Incubator Program that might want to come in and help us out. And we also have about 8,000 square feet of top floor office space that would be ideal for a software company. So if you know of any, send them my way. I'd love to talk to them.
Cool. Great.
Do you have any questions?
Any questions, these gentlemen?
Yes, we hope you give us a positive consideration for this. We sort of at North Asheville feel a little short-sighted on it. It seems like all the industry ends up in the flatter land on the south side of the county. So this land across the street became available. We felt like it was a good opportunity. We call it a technology park, even though it's one large building with the design to accommodate up to 6 companies, both in manufacturing and software. So we're excited about it. We're disappointed with all the rain that's occurred during the time we've started our grading, but we're optimistic we're going to get back on schedule and hope to be to move the AVL part of our expansion over there around the 1st of February. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? I think we're well aware of Asheville Technology's success story. We're very thrilled to have you here again. Thank you for contributing so much to our community. Any questions? Hearing none, we'll go ahead. Thank you. Y'all can be seated. We'll start the public hearing in the matter at 5:58. Does any member of the public wish to be heard on our consideration of approving Asheville Technology Park revenue bonds? Mr. Rice? Anyone else besides Mr. Rice? Okay. Jerry?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I've been around here for 20-some years, and I've heard this committee get together on the Industrial Facilities Pollution Control Financing Authority. My concern is this: if it's a pass-through thing, a pass-through money, and how it can be done, why not eliminate this presentation in a way that it can be done? Now, if it's an obligation to the county, it's different. But there's also a county attorney and a county planner that sits on this board, so they are time taken up by the attorney and your staff. So I'm not saying in a negative way here. If you don't have any authority, then what is the desire to come up here and go through this? Because we heard their presentation before, and we know what they're doing, and they've been here before. So I'm just saying it's kind of useless to do this, because I have never understood why, except for a presentation. And if it helps our bond rating or something of that nature, and it's tacking on to something like that, then we need to understand as taxpayers what really this board does, because it's never really been explained. It's always just a pawnee show here, and not saying this ain't a good thing. It's good jobs, okay? So I'm just talking about the integral part of how this process works. I think it ought to be shortened in a way, because they can come back and give us a presentation in a different matter that probably would be more productive than sounding like a bunch of figures on paper, you know, and it not benefiting us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rice. Any other public comment tonight? Hearing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed at 6:02. Mr. Free, will you answer some of those questions? Very good questions about why we do this.
I don't know a real answer. I mean, that statute's been on the books for some period of time. I believe the idea is that local boards of commissioners can create these authorities to help entities such as this acquire or buy the tax-exempt bonds. and it's with the approval of the local government commission. And I would think that the answer to Jerry's question is that since this is something of a creature of the local board of commissioners to create the authority is actually issuing the bonds, and it's just to make sure that the public is aware that the commissioners of the particular counties are endorsing the actions of the authority, and also to separate the issuance of the bonds and the debt obligation of the bonds from any appearance that the commissioners or the citizens would be responsible for it. So as Guy Clarici indicated, I mean, the county's not on the hook to pay any of this, and neither is the authority, but that's just the structure and the mechanism to create the bonds.
And Mike, I was a member of that board for a while, and my recollection was that it also helped hone the information necessary for a more successful bond release by having some more people look at it in government, which I guess would be debatable, but I think that's the intent.
The people on the board are knowledgeable about the bond process, and they have some business experience and often have questions that help them put together their package for the local government commission. But they're also built in. They have their own lawyers, and then the buyers have their lawyers. So there's a lot of hands looking in there to make sure that the process is right and that there's a buyer in place and that neither the authority or the county that issues is responsible.
And I think today, to answer Ms. Trice's question, it's not as necessary because everyone have excellent lawyers representing him. But I think at the time there was a feeling that maybe there should be a couple more people looking at this before they issue a lot of bonds to avoid more failures. So that was what I was always told, and it seemed like it made sense.
Yes, sir.
Okay, any other questions or comments about this? All right, is there a motion to approve the revenue bonds?
I'd like to make a motion, but I'd like to make a comment before
Sure.
I
Yes,
do
sir.
that. I want to thank ABL Technologies. I had the opportunity to tour your facility after becoming a commissioner, but with what was unique about it is I was able to go with local teachers, and we were able to, through your kindness, to be able to take a message back to the schools and to the school children that there are great jobs available in Buncombe County, and with companies such as ABL Technologies. And I do appreciate them. I think they did a very good job explaining this process. The first attorney, I thank you for the clarity that you gave on actually what we're doing. But I want to thank you for continuing to be active with the schools, because there's a skills gap in this country, and people realize that. And but what they don't know is that there are great jobs in Buncombe County available to these kids right out of many of them right out of high school. And I appreciate you for the opportunity to expand in that area. And with that comment, I would move for approval.
Okay, it's been a motion to approve the bonds. Is there a second?
Second.
Been a motion by the Vice Chair, a second by Commissioner Jones. Is there any further discussion? I'll call the question. All those in favor of approval of the Asheville Technology Park LLC revenue bonds, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Then that is approved by a 7-0 vote. Thank you for being here, gentlemen. Next, we'll hear from Debbie Trumpy about the rezoning request, PIN number 9677.21-2223. Debbie?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, C. Darrell Rosenberger has applied to rezone 6.24 acres of a 10.1 acre parcel from Residential Low Density District, RLD, to Neighborhood Service District, NS. The subject property is located at the intersection of Cedar Mountain Road and Charlotte Highway near the summit of Minehole Gap and is currently undeveloped and predominantly wooded. Surrounding properties to the north, east, and west are primarily characterized by steep topography and single-family residential development and are zoned RLD and R1. To the south, the remaining portion of the subject property, which is not part of this rezoning request, as well as neighboring properties, are zoned RLD and are steeply sloped with portions in the steep slope high elevation and protected ridge overlay districts. These properties to the south are characterized by both vacant tracts and single-family residences. While the subject property does directly access Charlotte Highway, it is not part of a contiguous commercial corridor and is more than a quarter mile from the closest commercially zoned property on the east and more than a third of a mile from commercial zoned property to the west. Excuse me. The Planning Department recommends denial of the proposed amendment as it is inconsistent with the Buncombe County Land Use Plan. The 2013 update highly suggests that neighborhood-scale commercial development be located outside of moderate and high-slope stability hazard areas, steep slope areas, and high elevations, and further suggests that neighborhood-scale commercial development be separated from low-density residential uses. The request to rezone the property to NS is incompatible with surrounding topography and land uses and would be detrimental to the adjacent neighbors and surrounding community as it would allow incompatible commercial uses within an existing low-density residential area. These concerns have been identified in 2 previous rezoning requests for the subject property. Your board has denied twice the same rezoning request. That was in both 2010 and 2013. The Planning Board held a public hearing on this application on October the 19th. 3 people spoke during public comment. 2 people spoke against the rezoning, citing concerns for traffic, stormwater runoff, light trespass, and wildlife protection. 1 person spoke for the rezoning, citing the highway access and existing utilities. The Planning Board found that the proposed rezoning is not consistent with the land use plan and is not reasonable nor in the public interest and recommends denial of the application, and that was in a vote of 6-2. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have of me now.
All righty, any questions of Ms. Trumpy before we start our public hearing?
Yeah, I have one, and maybe I should know this, but on the map that shows the colored map that shows the different zoning categories.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, I guess if I'm looking at it to the right, there is commercial property, and across this, and it's in red, and there is a large block of property that is a light color. Can you tell me what that is?
That is open use.
Okay.
The light color below the red.
Yes.
Yes, that is the open use district.
Okay, thank you.
Are we talking about the pink when we say light color? What color are we?
I actually, it didn't look the same color to me.
Looking at this map here?
Yes.
Okay,
So
yes.
the bottom
So
right.
this area down in here is open use
That is open
district.
use. Okay. Thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments?
I have a question.
ma'am.
I think you said that you referenced the area to the south of the property as
Yes.
Falling under steep slope and overlay. But that property is or is not part of what's asking to be rezoned?
The total tract does have steep slope and protected ridge overlay on it. The portion that's closest to the road and highlighted in the maps that's being requested to be rezoned is mainly not. It has some small amounts of the steep slope, high elevation overlay on it.
Okay, so what the area that we are being asked to evaluate is not.
It's mainly not in the
Mainly
steep
not.
slope, high elevation.
Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Ms. Trumpy, this
sir.
was brought before this board 2 times, but it was brought before this board before that, and it was zone business originally. Then, when zoning went away, it went away. Then it came back, and they came back before us, and they decided it needed to be residence. There's sewer up that mountain that would accept certain things like, whatever they wanted to put in there, a gas station or whatever. Yes, I understand there's a road that's fairly close to it, but there's exits further up. Plus, on the opposite side of the road, we're talking steep slopes, but on the opposite side of the road, there's a road that pretty well goes straight up the hill that goes into a development way up on the side of the mountain. I don't, you know, I have a hard time. He's cut it from 10 acres down to 6 acres. He's changed it in different ways and keeps coming back to try to be able to do something with this property. The man owns property. The man spent money to help get the sewer up the mountain. And, you know, somehow the planning board or somebody needs to try to get with him so he can figure out what he can do with this property besides nothing except sit on it. You know, when you spend the kind of money that was spent originally on, and I live in that area, and yes, I understand where the road is that comes out, everybody comes out of it. The drive that's going into this property can actually physically be moved further up. Then you have the one road that's almost, well, it's not quite straight across from it, but it's pretty close to that. But, you know, what are we going to do to let people be able to use their lands? What I want to know. He's gone, this is the man's, he's been approved business, then he put a sewer line in, zoning went away, then it came back, then he was approved residential, then he comes back and he still gets approved, now he comes back again. So I don't know, does anybody have an idea what this person can possibly do with this property?
Well, his property is zoned residential low density like the other similar properties around his. So he has the same options as all those other property owners do.
When you have something that's low density, just like you're talking around his, except it's a partial that was basically put into effect originally for something besides that. It was put into effect as a business, and then he didn't make it that. We made it that, or the county decided he needed to do what with this property. You know, he's trying to figure out a way to be able to sell this property, and it is low density. If it's just a small business or whatever, it you know, 6 acres of it, you know, it's no big deal. I just I have a hard time telling people every time they come forward that, you know, well, you can't do this with your property and you can't do that with your property, but you bought it.
Okay, any other comments or questions before we have our public hearing?
I have one, Mr. Chairman.
ma'am.
Ms. Trumpy, can you describe what a neighborhood service district looks like, since that's what we're being asked to
It's a
consider?
commercial district. It allows fewer permitted uses than the commercial service district that we have, so it's designed to be a more residential scale commercial district.
Compatible with the surrounding areas that are zoned as residential?
Well, the land use plan does recommend that they be separated from low-density residential development, so they're more appropriate, NS is more appropriate around higher-density residential districts.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Thank you. Hearing none, I'll start the public hearing on this rezoning request at 6:15. 5:15. Someone needs to fix our clock there. We're still on daylight savings time in this building. 5:15. Any members of the public wish to be heard on this? Yes, sir. Why don't you three come on? Just come up and sit in the front row. Everybody wants to talk, and we'll get you in order. This gentleman will be first. Lady, yeah, you can go ahead. Yes, sir. Lady will be second. Gentleman in the black shirt will be third, and then you'll be fourth and fifth. Anyone else that wants to speak after them? Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm Jeremy Jones. I live on Cedar Mountain Road. I've been to all these meetings, to the planning board meetings where they were all turned down, and that there's a reason that they were turned down. I mean, it's a steep mountain, and as one commissioner is saying, he wants to know what to tell people to do with their land. When it's zoned a certain way, that's the way it has to be for everybody around it. To me, trying to change it to NS is nothing, because it's been before the committee to go commercial so many times. It's been turned down. If he's trying to get changed to NS, it's just a sneaky, underhanded way to slip commercial in my opinion. So it says neighborhood service district is designed to allow for a mix of residential, commercial, and business. Commercial's commercial. If it's a duck, it walks like a duck, it walks like a duck, it's a duck. you know, we have so much trouble up Cedar Mountain Road as it is with runoff from the disaster from Chestnut Mountain. We've had people, my neighbor to the left of me has been hit 3 times just trying to get on to 74. I mean, you take your life in your own hands pulling out of there to begin with. And anybody that travels that road at 8 in the morning or 5 in the evening, it's Indianapolis 500 and it's packed. I don't know how Reynolds is handling all the kids for the people that's moving in up here, up on the mountain there, but it's, and if you go and put something sort of commercial in there, you're still changing, that's a scenic highway. It's nothing that's been changed, still a scenic highway. It's still a danger, nothing's been changed. They changed the speed limit, it's not ever monitored. So I urge that you turn it down again.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Gina Donatelli Maselli, and I spoke here 2 years ago, the last time that this was heard. And I have a copy from 2 years ago of the 55 online signatures we collected against this from members of the community. I live on 74 and have driven it almost every day of my life and will drive it almost every day of my life. And I'd be willing to bet my college tuition for next semester that that is one of the most dangerous stretches of road in Buncombe County. I have seen more wrecks than I can count on that little stretch of land. Anytime it's raining, I know to go 10 or 15 under because I know to expect that someone's going to have flown into the cliff wall right there from the way the water runs off. And my husband and I currently live further down 74, but we own land on Cedar Mountain that we're going to build on eventually. And thinking of raising a family in that area with a more complex traffic pattern than it already is scares me to death. And also, when I printed out these signatures, I did a quick Google search for other lots on 74 which are commercial for sale, and I found several which I've printed out copies for to show you today. The fact is that there's not a lack of land in Fairview zoned commercial. You know, the comment was made that, you know, this gentleman needs something to do with his land. He needs to be able to use it in some way. Well, he chose to buy it, and there's plenty of other flat, undeveloped lots in Fairview. There's one right next to where my husband and I live that has a forest on it because it hasn't been used since 74 was widened, and it's over an acre of land ready to be used. So like I said, the fact is that there's plenty of land available in Fairview for development, as well as empty office suites in several commercial developments that I know of. So I just wanted to ask you today to deny this.
Thank you, Ms. Mazzilli. Yes, sir. And then we'll have you two next, and then the folks in the second row.
My name is Frank Wortman. I'm the president of the Homeowners Association, Butler Mountain Estates, which is at the top of Cedar Mountain Road. I represent 55 homeowners in just our neighborhood. We were also here at the last hearing for similar rezoning. A couple of things I was concerned about Mr. Fryer saying. First of all, you mentioned that it was previously commercial. Was it previously commercial when it was 2-lane? That would be a big issue because there's less land there now. Putting a commercial enterprise zoning on that before.
It was commercial whenever it was the 5-lane, sir.
Okay, because in 98, I moved there in 98, they were just finishing it.
I was there before that, and he ran the sewer line because it went across the mountain. He paid for a portion of the sewer line up the mountain where it went, where the 5-lane is now. I think T&K ran it up the mountain, and so, no, it was commercial during the period it was the 5-lane.
Okay, let's give him another 3 minutes.
Okay.
I think it's time. You start over again.
So every day we attempt to get out there. If you'll look at your satellite map, off to the right you'll see a round circle. That is the water tank. That is roughly the crest of that pass. So you're talking about them possibly building an access road here at the crest where you can't see anything. And it's also a slight curve. So if there's an access road there, it's not going to be pretty.
If you want to put a light, which has been suggested at Cedar Mountain Road, that's not going to be pretty because that's now headed downhill, or trucks are struggling to get uphill, frequently 10 and 15 miles under the speed limit because it's so steep. Also, you mentioned, the planning and zoning person mentioned steep slopes. I don't know if anybody's noticed this, but right near that water tower, about an inch down, there is a cell tower. That cell tower is visible from where the parkway crosses 74A. If you ever are out there, look that direction, which means that if they build on the right-hand side of that property, you will see whatever is built there from the parkway. That's not a good idea if we are trying to protect our steep slopes. And the last thing I wanted to say is, the last time we were here, Commissioner Frost took her granddaughter out there and they looked at the property and the difficulty to do things there. And she and her granddaughter tried to get back onto 74A and they couldn't. It was difficult. And even her granddaughter, who's, I don't know at the time, maybe 12, said, this isn't a good idea. And it isn't a good idea. So we urge you to leave it as low-density residential. Let him develop it as low-density residential.
Thank you, Mr. Workman. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Kendra Sarvati. I live on Cedar Mountain Road, just around the corner after you turn onto it off of 74A. And I wanted to make many of the same points that I made last time I was here for this issue because nothing has really changed significantly. And I appreciate that a lot of people have already talked about what a fragile area this particular parcel is. The steep slope issue is definitely a concern. And the dangerous intersection, of course, is a huge concern. I think that if anything, it's only gotten busier there over the past few years. And I would say it's safe to say that that's a trend that's going to continue. It's not going to get less busy going out 74A. It's not going to get easier to get off of my road. But the other thing I want to talk about just very briefly is that I think that zoning this as a neighborhood service district is going to completely take it out of the character of the rest of the neighborhood. You know that it's already low-density residential, and I think that it needs to be, according to the definition of the NSD, it would have to be compatible with the residential character of the area. It shouldn't add to traffic congestion, which it clearly will. It shouldn't cause noise, dust, odors, fire hazards, or lighting objectionable to surrounding residences, of which there are at least 3 directly overlooking this parcel. I would think that they're going to be significantly impacted by this change. And it shouldn't visually detract from the overall appearance of our neighborhood, which, again, in my opinion, it would. Someone else brought up that there's plenty of neighborhood services available at the bottom of the hill and in other areas surrounding, and I just want to reiterate that point. There's, it's not even a mile down the road. I think that wraps it up for me, but I just wanted to reiterate the things that I said last time and urge you to please, again, deny the request for rezoning. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sarvati. Yes, sir. And then we'll have the 2 gentlemen on the second row. And anyone else that wants to speak.
Commissioners, good evening. My name is Darren Stroop, and I'm Kendra Sarvati's husband. And yeah, we lived in downtown Asheville for about 13 years, and after all of the major development and traffic and noise that began to increase, we decided to move out to Cedar Mountain Road, and we've really enjoyed the neighborhood since we've been there. It's quiet, there's wildlife, forests, clear skies at night, and rezoning this property at the Crest of Minehole Gap would, we feel, have a negative impact on all the things that we find valuable in our neighborhood. The effects of rezoning would lead to an increase in noise pollution from cutting down of trees, construction, increased traffic congestion, and from whatever business is built on the parcel. Soil erosion and runoff from the site's inevitable would affect the health of Gashes Creek, which runs right through that property and goes down to the Swananoa River. Soil erosion and the The runoff would lead to increased costs in road maintenance and to property degradation for surrounding neighbors. We'd see the loss of mature forest and a critical wildlife corridor on a mountain that's not only located on a historic scenic byway, but can be seen beyond the parkway. It can be seen all the way from I-40. Of course, there's going to be an increase in light pollution, an increase in traffic hazards and congestion, which has already been touched on. My wife and I, like a lot of our neighbors, have made, a 30-year investment to live in this neighborhood, and I'm not sure that the owners of this property are in this for the long haul like we are. It might just be a matter of making money with this property and then leaving us to the fallout. And it's funny because ultimately this is supposed to be neighborhood services, but as was illustrated last time we were here with our petition of our neighbors, nobody was in favor of having these neighborhood services. So it's kind of funny that neighborhood services are being thrust upon us when we're not interested in having any more than what we already have. And we don't even know what they're going to be, which is another gamble here. So I hope you follow the analysis and the recommendation of the Department of Planning and the Planning Board to deny rezoning this land, respect our stance against commercial development to encroach into our neighborhood, respect the surrounding natural environment that we live in and enjoy and that so many other people pass through every day. And thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stroop. Yes, sir. Second row, and then gentleman in the brown shirt, and then the gentleman in the back will be next. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, my name is Harold Gray. My wife Pat and I, about a year ago, bought a piece of property on Chestnut Mountain Development. I'm working on it today. I'm up from Florida. I live in Port St. Lucie, Florida. I'm staying with a person who I knew from Cleveland. She moved here about 3 years ago, and she talks about how when people move here and they get into wonderful Asheville in Buncombe County, they all of a sudden don't want anybody else to come here and be a part of it because they want to keep it small, quaint, and they're very desirable, which it is at this point. I was reading one of the Welcome Asheville magazines, and it talked about 50,000, they expect 50,000 people to be moving to Asheville and Buncombe County over the next 15 years. The reality is that the people that are moving here need services, need commercial strips to take care of their needs. 74A is obviously a commercial strip. If you drive all the way to Fairview, there are pockets of commercial being done. If we have a commercial person, a developer, who is willing to make this site into something that can service the community, it certainly makes sense to me because there are going to be plenty of people coming. We may not want all the people come. When I move in, I probably won't want it to grow anymore also. But the reality is it's going to grow. And we need to provide services for people that are coming here. And this is a small example of it. Maybe it's not the most ideal site to be developed, but if we have a developer who's willing to put the money into sewer and other phases that are going through permits, will have to take care of all the problems that they're talking about, I say let them do it. And I welcome services for myself, my wife, and the rest of the people on the mountain, even though they might not want them now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gray. Yes, sir. And then we'll have the gentleman in the back.
Hello, I'm Alan Helmick. I've been a realtor here in Fairview for 32 years. I'm also an adoptive parent and a disabled veteran. And I used to own this property, and I paid to run the sewer to this property when it was open use zoning. And in 2006, when Buncombe County zoned it, they zoned it residential low density, and I appealed that, and the planning board approved it to be neighborhood services. But then the zoning was kicked out. So in 2010, I again appealed it. And again, the planning board approved it for neighborhood services. So I don't know why it's different now than it was then. There's a lot of misconceptions about this property that it's spot zoning. This property is separated from other commercial that you can see in both directions because of the neighboring topography and the previous deed restrictions. The owner's only asking for a portion of this property, which is not level. And so it's really conducive to small neighborhood services. It only has 3 small plateaus, which would be ideal for a doctor's office, a dentist, a real estate office. It's not ideal for large-scale commercial. This is just for neighborhood services. And the way neighborhood services is supposed to be close to where other big neighboring residential areas can use it, like Butler Mountain Estates, like South Cliff, like those big apartments that put up the wall. There's been a lot of misconceptions about this property, that the property is too steep when there's really 3 small plateaus on it. Sorry, I already said that. It's a misconception it's spot zoning when it's separated just by the topography. It's a misconception that zoning allowances would add too much traffic on Cedar Mountain Road, and this is one of the main issues, and I understand the people on Cedar Mountain Road being concerned. It's scary getting out of Cedar Mountain Road. But this property has approved 2 DOT curb cuts, 400 feet up the road. The DOT looked at the site clearance and said this is improved it right there when it was 5-laned. It's not going to add traffic to Cedar Mountain Road. It's further up, the entrance and the exit's further up the road. And again, it's only for small neighborhood services. I wish the planning board and the zoning would be more restrictive and tell us what we can put on that property and how large it can be instead of this broad neighborhood services. But again, the property is only conducive for small. There's been people say the bears can't cross the road. Residential property with fences could do more to obstruct the bears than an office setting there. You know, it's a misconception that this property would be too much of an impact as far as noise and light pollution and all, when commercial wouldn't do that any more than residential. I've shown this property to over 30 buyers, and they all say they would never build there because of the road noise. And the buyers that have showed any interest at all, the first thing they want to do is cut down all those huge oak trees so they can see that view. Commercial builders don't care about that. They'll just squeeze in there. They don't care about cutting out for the view. There'll be more damage done to this property with residential construction than there would be for small-scale neighborhood services. So, you know, I hope that you'll consider all that and let this owner do what he can do with his property.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hellman. Yes, sir, in the back. Anyone else want to speak after this gentleman? Yes, sir, Orange shirt, you'll be next.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, my name is Dale Dinas. I'm a general dentist. I practice in South Asheville. I've always been a Buncombe County resident. I've never lived in Asheville. I moved here in 1985, and I sometimes joke that when I moved here, it wasn't a one-horse town, it was a one Kmart town. We've come a long way. The gentleman that spoke earlier that talked about the growth that we're expecting in the county, I applaud his research and his wisdom. I agree strongly. I live in Fairview now. I first lived in Candler, then I lived in Leicester. Last 12 years I've lived in Fairview. I'm active in the Fairview community. We've been very active in the elementary school out there. And I think that we do need services in this neighborhood. To move to an area where there's a 5-lane road and not expect it to have commercial is unrealistic. I live off the beaten path. I live up Bernie Mountain. I chose that because I wanted the privacy, and I chose a location that was conducive to that. This property, as he said, would be accessed off of 74, and it's not going to affect the traffic on that other road. It is going to make an opportunity for services to be available up and down, and that should be a commercial corridor, just like other main thoroughfares are a commercial corridor. And I feel that his request is reasonable, and I would encourage you to act in favor of his request. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dennis. Yes, orange shirt. Anybody else want to speak to this lady? Okay.
Hi, my name is Jenny Calloway. I've lived in Asheville since 1973, and I've lived in Fairview since 1975, and I appreciate y'all taking the time to listen today, too. I was also here 2 years ago when this same issue was brought up, and I have the exact same concerns that I do now. But just hearing the gentleman speak that the access will actually be on 74 in two-pace makes it even scarier to me. If you have ever been up there and seen how blind those curves are coming down, whether you're going up or down. If you're going up and somebody's coming out, you can't be seen. If you're coming down and someone is trying to turn left, it's absolutely terrifying. Every day when I go out, I have to wait and wait and wait to make sure I can clear to get into the middle lane. And then I have to watch really carefully for somebody coming down from Fairview towards Asheville because they come very fast before I can merge in. And the thought of having more commercial property up there when there was already vacant commercial property in Fairview and in Reynolds, that we don't need those services there when it's going to be jeopardizing lives. I don't care if it's a dentist office or if it's a Kmart. It's a very dangerous spot, and that should be the bottom line to worry about, is people's lives up there, not whether or not they're making rent money. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Calloway. Any other members of the public wish to be heard on this? Yes, sir. Chief?
My name is Richard Sells, and I'm Chief of Reynolds Fire Department, which would cover this area, and certainly didn't realize this would come before the board today, and really didn't come prepared to speak to this, but just joggling my memory, this probably half-mile section of 74 between the Reynolds community and Fairview community, I can probably think of about 6 fatalities that have happened in that 5-mile stretch over probably the past 3 to 4 years. And as already has been stated, it is a very dangerous section of road. When temperatures drop, this is the first section that freezes, and we have numerous accidents in that area. And I would encourage you, as the fire chief, to think about the human lives that will be at stake in the event that this was allowed to happen here. Cedar Mountain Road itself is bad enough, but to add more entrances and exits onto 74 in that area, I think would not be a good idea for the public traveling on that highway. So that's all I've got to say, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Chief. Any other public comment tonight? Mr. Rice?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. The longer you commissioners sit and listen to something, I get excited. I'm wondering what we're going to have for supper. It's interesting to me to hear these arguments because it sounds like politics on one side, greed on the other, and something else on the other. When I think about what they're talking about residential here, let's think about it. How many more homes can be built up this road on the side of that mountain? How many in the future is going to be there? When you start making the numbers and ask your planning board how many is going to be put there in the future, my goodness, you've already outnumbered what's going to be coming into these services that's going to be put there to start with. So what's the argument? They don't want to see somebody down at the road. It ain't all about safety. If it's about the safety and the fire chief is serious about what he said, get DOT out there. Get the safety control people out there. Quit this mossing around what the real subject is. Now, I'm going to tell the folks, the most likely thing, you're going to deny it because you can see it from the parkway.
All right, any other public comment tonight? No, sir. Any other public comment? Hearing none, I will declare the public hearing closed at 5:38. Any discussion of the board?
I have a process question on this item. Is this a simple single vote for or against the requested rezoning to just require one vote?
We would ask that you would have 2 votes, one on its consistency with the land use plan, and then a second vote on approval or denial of the request.
I'll make a motion to deny this request for rezoning due to its inconsistency with the land use plan.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion by Commissioner Newman, second by Commissioner Frost. Is there any discussion?
I would just add that the, I think anybody who, you know, as it's been said before, I think folks who travel this section of road, it is an area that, I hadn't heard those specific statistics before, but it is an area that when you're driving it, it feels kind of unsafe because it's a very wide road. People are going fast. It's a long downhill. And especially when the road is wet, you can just tell it's one of those areas you just kind of grip your steering wheel a little bit tighter so I think the idea of having more curb cuts there, more access points there, I don't think that automatically is okay from a public safety standpoint. And you know, a lot of areas where you have a multi-lane road, there is kind of a presumption that some kind of commercial development's okay, but I don't think it can just be automatic that everywhere you have more than a 2-lane road is just going to automatically be permissible to have commercial development. It's fine in many cases, but in some cases, the topography and the layout of the street infrastructure, it does create real problems. And I just think this is one of those. I think this is one of those locations, and it's for those reasons that I made the motion.
I want to thank everyone for coming back out, and I also really want to thank our Fire Chief from Reynolds for speaking out, having firsthand experience of what it's like and the dangers of that road.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I've got, just want to summarize my thoughts real quick. I am grateful for all the comments that came here tonight. And where I'm at on this is, before this was 10.5 acres, and I don't have the history that other commissioners might have with, but I think it was over 10 acres. Yeah, it was, I went out and looked at the property. I drove up through there. The property was extremely steep. It concerned me greatly that there would be development of this type up on those slopes. Where it is today, I am not as concerned. It doesn't mean that I don't share the concerns of every comment that was made, because I do. To say that we would not care for the safety of the families, as everyone on this commission does, and we certainly do. I do. I'm not sure where this will fall. I am. You made motion to deny, right?
There's been a motion to deny, and that will end the debate, since there's not a second motion after that if it's inconsistent. Is that right? That'd be my interpretation. But if it's denied in the first one, the second one can't revive it.
The statute reads that it requires a consistency statement, that it's either consistent with the land use plan or inconsistent, and then you have a second vote to approve or deny.
Well, even if it's okay, we'll have 2 votes in. Thank you.
So anyhow, I'm going to support it, because I do believe that it is consistent with a comprehensive land use plan. I believe there is neighborhood services close by. I believe there's commercial services close by. It is true, it is a 5-lane highway, and I do believe that it is not unreasonable to believe that this type of development would occur there. But I do appreciate the fact that we're not even looking at getting on those steep slopes, and I think that'll be a positive. As far as the comments regarding the traffic, I would encourage the public to engage the DOT. You can be very successful in taking something that you deem and is truly scary to pull out on, by making right turn onlys, by working with DOT. I would encourage you to do that. I think of Lester Highway. It's the same. I'm looking at it's very, very, very difficult, very similar in the amount of the turns and things that occur. And they recently put up a speed flashing sign that flashes your speed limit at certain areas, and working with the DOT and the local people to slow the traffic down. So I would encourage you to do that. But I actually believe it is consistent with the county land use plan, so I will be voting against the motion. Right?
Any other comments?
Yeah. I understand that we have had accidents on 74A in that area at the top of the mountain, at the foot of the mountain. Fairview side, I'm sure that we've had accidents on that side, but if you cross across the tower that they're talking about, just on the opposite side of this property, there is a driveway that's on the opposite side of the hill. So if we're talking danger, it's danger there. I live in a development out there. I have to pull out in the road in the mornings or in the evenings or during the time, and I have to. It's the same thing. 74 is getting really busy. It don't matter if it's up there, or if it's down in the flat, or if it's at Old Fort Road, or where I live. It's not good. But if you want housing in there, that means you're going to have more vehicles, more cars, more people on this short amount of property. If you have a dentist office or something similar to that, you may have 2 or 3 cars in there at a time. Everybody coming out of that road blends into the yellow line and blends over. Where I come out of mine, I do the same thing. I pull out, I blend into the center lane, then I blend into the passing lane to look for the traffic. But it don't matter what you do, there's wrecks. At Old Fort Road, there's a curve. Had a terrible wreck out there that killed some people. And, I don't want to see anybody killed, period. But if they pull it down as much as they're going to try to pull it down from big commercial to basically talking like a dentist office, like the dentist was here or whatever, that's not going to be that many cars. And I can't see no reason that would hurt. It's gone from 10 acres down to 6 acres. So there's 2 entrances. I see them every day. I see the sign up there for sale every day when I go home. The second entrance, it's been cut in, but if you go past that entrance another 100 feet, there's a driveway on the opposite side of the hill. And, the gentleman that owns that property, they seem to get out in the road okay. Then there's more properties going down the hill there on the right-hand side, just like this. So I don't want to see anybody get killed, but anytime you got a highway and it's 5-lane, things are going to happen. But if you can pull it down to where there's 3 cars in there versus a neighborhood, that's got to be better. That's the way I look at it. Somebody has a small business, they've got to be able to do something with this property except sit there and people look at it and then pay for it and pay the property tax to the county each year on this property. Don't know what the property tax is, but it's not sitting there for free. So I'll be voting against it too.
All right, any other comments?
I have a quick, can I ask Ms. Trumpy a quick question?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. There is an apartment complex that is in close proximity to this. Is it, maybe a half mile or so?
It's probably about that.
Do you have any idea how many apartments are there? Or I know that's sort of off the top.
I don't know.
It just strikes me as a large community within a half mile. So that there isn't. Do you agree that the apartment complex is about a half mile away?
I think it probably is.
Okay, but we don't know the size. Okay,
That's correct.
Thanks.
All right, any other questions or comments? I guess the only thing I'd add is I go this road every day too, and I cannot think of a worse place for NS or commercial. I think what Chief Sales said is exactly right, and I think what Mr. Stroop said, it's kind of ironic. If the neighborhood doesn't want it, why would you approve something, neighborhood services. We hear the neighborhood, we hear what you're saying, understand the arguments that, you gotta have stuff to go to, but you got plenty of stuff on that road. That is just not gonna fly with me. I'm voting against this. Anything else? Okay, I'll call the question. The motion by Commissioner Newman is to find that it is inconsistent with the land use plan, followed by another motion that will be whether to approve the application. Is that right? All right, so the motion before us right now is a finding that is inconsistent with the land use plan, which would be a vote against the project. All those.
Can I add a little amendment?
Yes.
Inconsistent, reasonable, because I guess the words that I'm kind of clumped on are the unreasonable and not in the public interest, right? And those are the three things. So I think you can make a case for the consistency, but I think it's unreasonable and I think it's against the public interest. So if we could just modify that little piece of it.
Yes, I think specifically would the language be inconsistent with the county comprehensive land use plan and unreasonable and not in the public interest? Would that be the hit the points? Is that agreeable?
Exactly, yeah.
I agree.
Okay. All right, so that's, everybody understand what we're voting on? Okay, all in favor of the motion finding that the request is inconsistent, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, no.
No.
Let's poll the board. I didn't get everybody's vote.
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Okay, the motion fails, the motion is approved, 4-3, Commissioners Belcher, DeBrule, and Fryer against the inconsistency motion. Is there a motion to deny the application?
So moved.
Been a motion by Commissioner Newman, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jones. Any discussion of that motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
No. The motion is approved by a 4-3 vote. Commissioner Belcher, DeBrule, and Fryer against. Thank you. All right. Next up, we are on to old business. Mr. Frew will talk about our fire district status. We have last week, and anyone who wants to leave, this is fine. It's interested in the, unless you're interested in the fire district and the Veterans Court, which we have yet to go. Mr. Frew, tell us a little bit about where we're at and what's before us tonight.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, this is the third time I've been here on this issue since September 1st, and with the chiefs here as well. Just to summarize, the goal is simple. I mean, once again, the goal is simply to have the fire department service areas be the same as the areas of taxation to levy to provide for those services, to be the same as the insurance rate maps, which the Office of the State Fire Marshal uses. And the idea is that no services will change for all these projects. We're trying to consolidate 35 fire districts down to 20. Whatever fire department would be called today, if this board approves this plan of consolidation, the same fire department would be dispatched tomorrow. So there's no change in service, no change in tax as a direct result of this. There's a different taxing authority. The tax levying process will be the same. As always, this board sets the tax rates for the county as a whole and for service districts or fire districts in June of every year. So the chiefs work with the county manager during the winter months. They look at what they need, what they want, what they desire, work with their constituents, their community, and they make a request to the county. The county manager works and makes a recommendation to this board, and this board sets the rates in June of every year. That process does not change. And the insurance rates won't change. The only properties, since the rates are set for this year, let me back up. There are 3 properties in the Riceville area, which is the Hall Creek section of the Riceville dispatch. There will be 6 properties that will have to be affected July 1st of next year, but that's just 6 properties that we could find around the county. We did this in 3 batches a couple weeks ago, and I would suggest that we proceed in 3 batches again. Of course, you're always welcome. We can go through one by one. But first, we have 5 districts that will be abolished under this proposal. old North Central, Northeast, and Northwest Fire Protection Service districts, as well as one of the Skyline Service District, which is DSK, and the Upper Hominy Fire District, Service District, which is up on the mountain around the Hominy Valley. Those 5 districts will be covered by new districts that are being created, which are the 14 new service districts. So those will be covered, and they'll make the 5 obsolete and no longer needed. We have 14 service districts which are created new, and the reason they already have fire districts, old rural fire protection districts, which were voted upon maybe 50 years ago, but those didn't cover all the districts. Those are just small communities 50, 60 years ago where they decided to have a vote and request the commissioners to set a tax rate so they could have a volunteer fire department. So those, over time, we talked about before, no man's lands, they called them 20, 25 years ago, but those are just areas where the fire departments provided services and no one was getting taxed for those services. So obviously it's fair if everyone's going to be treated the same to extend authority. So the Board of Commissioners at that time made fire service districts to fill in those gaps. Some of those gaps were whole communities. Swannanoa, Inca Candler, they just created fire protection districts. Now that gets to the second group that we have, not the 5 that are being abolished if approved, but we have 6 that are currently only fire protection service districts. So the idea is to make sure that all fire districts have the same authority and the same statutory ability and the same power to request taxation for services subject to the approval of this board. So for those 6 districts, we're asking that the board, by resolution, approve to extend EMS services into those districts. So that should make no change in tax rates at all, because those for some of those, they already have. I think Jerry Rice at the pre-conference said had a concern about the $1.50. The tax structure under this fire service district is subject to the maximum level of taxation which any Board of Commissioners across the state can set, and that's $1.50. Some of the smaller counties around the state are near that level. Our county is 60.4 cents currently. So take that off the $1.50, the maximum authority here would be, roughly 80 cents. But again, it's subject to this board's approval, and as we've said before, this board has said no before for tax increases from fire departments, and it can certainly say no in the future. So that, again, that process stays the same. For the 14 that are new districts, what really we have are they're partly rural fire protection districts. They're partly the no man's lands areas where the Board of Commissioners 20, 25 years ago put in service districts to fill that gap. And some of those are a combination of rural fire protection voted upon districts with an ambulance service district plopped on top. So we're just trying to make all those, create new districts to encompass those service areas as provided for service by these departments now, and just make those new fire protection service districts as well as EMS service districts. So the idea is to end up with 20 combined districts that all have the same statutory authority for the provision of services.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Frew? All right. If none, I would like to make a 3 motions. The first one would be to abolish the old service districts. That would be North Central, Northeast, Northwest, South Buncombe, and Hominy fire districts. The second motion I would suggest we make is, if that's approved, that we extend medical rescue and ambulance service into the 6 current fire protection districts. That would be Asheville Suburban, Broad River, East Buncombe, Inca, Garin Creek, and Swannanoa. When we do that, then I would suggest we do a motion to create the 14 new fire protection, ambulance, and service rescue districts. So is that, everybody, if we proceed that way, I would suggest we do that. Any other questions from Mr. Frew before we take these motions up in that order?
And just a point, I don't know if I mentioned, but this is all effective at the end of the current fiscal year. So the new districts will actually take effect July 1st, 2016, if you approve it.
All righty.
So it will be within the next budget cycle.
Okay. I'll add that to each motion.
I don't have a question. I just have a comment.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to say to Mr. Frew and all the fire chiefs and everybody else who's worked on this, thanks for bringing this together. I know it has been in the works a long time, and it's and in a lot of ways it's a pretty simple idea. We're just trying to kind of clean up these boundaries from these different districts that have evolved each in their own way over time. So it's just really, in some ways, an administrative cleanup item, but there's a lot of details to it that we need to get right. And so I just want to say thanks for pulling this all together, and I think this is going to be lay a very good foundation for these service districts going forward.
Thank you.
Yeah, we need to do it tonight. In case there's a fire, we might be in trouble with all the chiefs here. We thank you for coming, and I echo.
I get it now. It's a little late.
All right. Any comments before we get started here? Okay. Having reviewed the materials included in our October 20 agenda packet and having heard and considered the presentation and comments at the public hearings held on that date, I move that the 5 old service districts be abolished for the reasons set forth in the agenda for those listed items effective July 31st, 2016. The resolution would abolish the North Central Fire Protection Service District, Northeast, Northwest, South Buncombe, and Hominy Fire. I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, a motion by the chairman, a second by Commissioner Fryer. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The motion is approved 7-0. The next motion will read.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry to interrupt, but Chief Lewis just pointed out, you mentioned July 31st, but the date that would be effective would be June 30th, 2016.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then we will vote again, the same amendment, the same motion for June 30, 2016. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Then it is adopted by 7-0. Thank you. Next motion will be, having reviewed the materials included in our October 20 agenda packet and having heard and considered the presentations made at that time, I move that the emergency medical, rescue, and/or ambulance services be extended into the 6 current fire protection service districts, which are Asheville Suburban, Broad River, East Buncombe, Inca, Garin Creek, and Swannanoa, for the reasons set forth in the agenda for those items, effective June 30, 2016.
Second.
There's been a motion by the chairman, a second by the vice chairman. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Then that is adopted by a 7-0 vote. Final motion, having reviewed the materials included in our October 20 agenda packet and having heard and considered the presentations and comments at the public hearing held on that date, I move that the 14 new fire protection and ambulance and rescue service districts be created and established as set forth in the agenda for those listed items. These will be Asheville Special, Barnardsville, Fairview, French Broad, Jupiter, Lester, North Buncombe County Reems Creek, Reynolds, Riceville, Skyland, Upper Hominy, and West Buncombe to be effective June 30, 2016. Is there a second?
Second.
Been a motion by the chairman, a second by Commissioner Frost. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Then that establishes our 14 new districts. Chiefs, thank you for your public service. Let's give them a hand because they don't ever get recognized. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, one other point. I don't know if you said Woodfin for the last motion. I know it's all in the package, so this might be just academic, but I don't know that you mentioned Woodfin.
Okay, I'll take that as a friendly amendment to add Woodfin. It's not on my list, so I did not. We'd also want to add Woodfin to the 14 new fire protection and ambulance and rescue service districts for the reasons set forth earlier. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Motion by Chairman, second by Commissioner Frost. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of adding Woodfin to the group say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And Woodfin is part of the 14 new fire protection and ambulance and rescue service districts. Thank you, gentlemen.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Frew.
I bet the fire chiefs just want to keep coming to our meetings.
Y'all gotta love it.
Any of you want to be heard on this, we're glad to do that, but if not, you're welcome to go, and thank you for being here several times. Our next order of business will be the new, will be, under new business, will be the Veterans Treatment Court funding request. And we have Eric Howard here. I'd also like to recognize District Attorney Todd Williams and Public Defender Leanne Melton for being here. Thank you both for being here. So Eric, if you'll come on up, if you'll dodge those fire chiefs and come on up and tell us about your request.
They got my way back is what it is. Thank you so much for the
Mr. Howard is the Director of the court. Thank you.
To discuss Veterans Treatment Court, which is a new innovative idea devised by Mr. Todd Williams, our resident judge, Marvin Pope, and Mr. Cogburn. They reached out and got the initial grant started. And I want to say thank you, Mr. Rice, for your kind words. I didn't expect that, but I appreciate you saying something like that. And just to clear the record a little bit more, we have reached out to Julie Clip Nicholson, and actually I just called Rashida McDaniels yesterday and today about working and reaching out to some families. So we appreciate their service as well. All right, we'll start right here. I think I sent the video to everybody. So since it's about 3 minutes, we'll just, is it okay to go past that?
Yes, sir.
All right. So I'm going to give an overview of Veterans Treatment Court and what we're all about. We started in January. We got the grant, and then we moved on. And I came on board in June after the budget cycle, of course. And we figured out that we needed to get the court funded. What was happening is, I didn't realize when I accepted the position that diversion courts had to self-fund. So that was part of the issue, is we needed critical needs like drug tests, transportation, just anything that you can imagine that a disabled veteran or a veteran coming back with traumatic brain injury or PTSD would need. And so we got with our team and we decided our needs. We put together a short budget to see, what's the we needed about $35,000, but we felt comfortable asking for 10 to just get us started. This money will be held under ABCCM as a line item to safeguard any money or to make sure that we tabulate receipts and we can show a record or spending report. So that's where we got here to this day. I can't see this. This is our team, and please let me recognize our team. They sat here through the night, and of course our evaluator had to leave, but that's just Dr. Jamie Vasky, and she's with Western Carolina University, and her whole job is to evaluate, make sure that we have data, show the effectiveness of Veterans Treatment Court, which is really interesting. It's about a 3% recidivism rate amongst Veterans Treatment Court, which is outstanding. So this time, I know there's no one here, but would you please stand? And I'm so grateful to work with such a dedicated team. And this is our Buncombe County treatment team.
Yay.
So right here we have Mr. McCurry. He is our veteran coordinator. Ms. Joan McCurry, she's our chief probation officer. Mr. C.J. Elkins, he's our probation officer here. He's working in Ms. McCurry's department. Our public defender, Ms. Leanne Melton. And of course, Mr. Kevin Turner, or KT. I said it right? And he is with DSS Veteran Services. Miss Katie right there, she is working, Miss Katie Stewart, I'm sorry, working with us through VA. Who's back there? And Mr. Engel, who's our ADA, who's actually on our team. And of course, Mr. Todd Williams, who, this wouldn't be possible without all these folks' support. And, I have to say that the reason that I'm standing here is because you guys really feel veterans and you're working for veterans, and we appreciate that. This is a group that is so underserved, and we have a lot of issues with homelessness. We have about 19,000 veterans in our county, and it's just so refreshing that you all have made the effort to keep us here and have us at this moment discussing veterans services issues. Here's our mission statement. I can't see it from here. All right. Anybody care to see that?
Promote public safety through
the mission of
accountability and
Buncombe County Veterans
responsibility.
Treatment Court is to promote public safety through accountability and responsibility, assist and support veterans and their families through a coordinated effort among the court community and community-based veteran services, thereby leaving no veteran behind. Here are some of the issues that we're facing, and one of the things that I want to talk to the commission about too is we have to recognize that many of our veteran reservists were deployed multiple times. Another reason why Veterans Treatment Court is going to be so effective, in the future, is because a lot of these gentlemen and ladies are going to come back from their reservist time. They have a very short turnaround to acclimate to our community. And, roughly, 10 to 30 days to get back. And there are firemen, there are police officers, and once they retire from these positions, they're really going to need our help. And one of the issues that we're seeing that veterans suffer from is when they sit idle or they retire or they're not as engaged with the community, and it's very important that we keep them engaged and that we keep working with them. And so if something does happen, I'm happy that we have Veterans Treatment Court because we can put them with the services that they need to be reinstate them back into their place in life once they had before. And here are some of the 10 key components. I'm kind of whipping through this, but we recently went through our federal training. The exciting thing about Veterans Treatment Court as well is through this federal training, it makes us eligible for BGA grants, which the first one is the implementation that we're setting ourselves up for, which will be $350,000. And then there's some community grants up to a couple $1 million that we can have to make Veterans Treatment Court more sustainable. We're very happy about that. And here you can see some of the goals of our court. And we're going to really use the community. And that's one of the reasons that I'm here, is really use the community and access those resources. I spent a lot of time being a community social worker through public education and knew many of these resources. And I'm happy about that because I can reach out. I knew immediately to call Miss McDaniels. I knew immediately to call some of these other folks in our community through Evelyn and wherever else to get support and needed services for our veterans. So I'm very proud of that I was able to understand the systems that they exist and then build upon that for our veteran services. All right, here's some of our progress, some of our highlights right here. One of the best things that happened to us is going to Washington, D.C., and meeting with our elected officials, going to this huge training. It was fascinating to learn how Veterans Affairs works, the issues that are affecting our veterans, not only here in Buncombe County, but nationally. All right. Our mentors. The biggest piece of Veterans Treatment Court is the mentor piece. And Mr. McCurry is our mentor coordinator, who's also an APD officer, who's getting ready to retire. So we appreciate your service twice. So I want to recognize him for that. And his whole job on this team is to recruit, retain, and train veteran mentors to work individually with each one of our candidates. And so when he does that, it creates a battle buddy type situation that the veteran has someone that they can talk about. The only time that any information comes outside of that mentor relationship is if harm to self or property. But it's such a comforting thing, and I think that's what one of the big things about the Veterans Treatment Court that makes it so effective is because you have this long-standing mentor. And as a public servant in public education, one of the things that that we often seek in education is that mentor piece and building on those relationships. And one of the things we saw earlier with this presentation with Ms. McDaniels is these are mentors. These are people going out checking on folks and making sure that they're okay. And this is the service that the mentors serve for us. Here's some of the issues. We know most of this working with folks in general, our drug courts. But what's happening is an alarming rate of traumatic brain injury, PTSD, that folks are coming back, and it's huge because of sometimes the wait to get services, and sometimes, veterans don't exactly disclose what their issues are because they're afraid of when they're working. For instance, if you're working in a job, you don't want to go tell your person that you're really struggling with these issues, and then sometimes things happen. But here's a list of some of the things that are happening. Of course, self-medicating. I was in the jail the other day with Miss Stewart, and I wish I could have filmed this gentleman who was affected by 3 separate IED attacks. And this gentleman, just looking at him and hearing him, he started using meth because he just said he didn't want to go to sleep to stop the nightmares. I mean, let's think about that. Like, just ongoing nightmares affecting you about, being attacked or these loud explosions and things that are really affecting you. This gentleman had 2 kids, family. It's all gone now. Veterans Treatment Court seeks to replace that. We seek to come out and rebuild that family unit to help them, regain that. Or if they can't get back with their families, at least have contact with their families so they at least feel whole again. We have 5 different phases. All right? In phase 1, all of our clients are supervised, ankle monitor. We really closely watch them. They meet with me twice a week. They meet with Mr. Elkins twice a week. And it's really, it's more difficult than normal probation. We really supervise our guys and ladies just to make sure that, 1, they're safe, they get the services. The great thing about it, I can't say enough about Mr. Turner and Miss Stewart, the fast access to care. This is one of the key components and something that we hear in the news a lot about, with the VA. But, when I talk to Katie and I talk to Kevin, I mean, outstanding rate of getting folks engaged and getting them the services they need. And I don't think people realize how effective these folks are, and we really appreciate that. I'm going to shoot through the phases. And then when we get closer to phase 4 and 5, this is where the community, this is where I get the opportunity to really put in my expertise and connecting these folks with different organizations from Goodwill, Go Green, any of these organizations that can train folks to get them employed. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, is getting folks the services that they deserve, getting them employed, getting them back into working and being a part of our community as they once were. And this is we have alternating Fridays for now. Right now, we have a total of 4 due clients. We should have 7 by the end of November. We're right on track with the AOC and the Vet for Justice, rate of getting clients in as a new court. We're really trying to figure it out. We're rewriting our handbooks, and we're really aligning with federal guidelines. So not this Friday, but next Friday we have court. I welcome you all to attend. And the court is really interesting because it's a non-adversarial court, and it's really fascinating when you go in because you're thinking there's going to be some argument. Maybe I watch too much TV. But one of the interesting things is we have, our district attorney and our public defender, and they're working on therapeutic options for people. And when you have a district attorney and public defenders and all these folks that are looking, how do we make this person whole again? And not how do we lock them up? And not how do we, they need something else and whatever else. But they're really looking at treatment options that are very effective. And that's very helpful when we go out and we're seeking these veterans, because they're coming to be treated, and they're coming to have the support and help that they need. And I get phone calls every day, from all over the region. I mean, I got an email from Alabama the other day, and I was just like, Katie, what do I do? So I was able to get that to Katie, and maybe, we hooked them up with their veteran services in that area. So that's how widespread this Veterans Treatment Court is, and how effective they are. People are trusting them, which is really good. And of course, at the end of the cycles, we celebrate every phase. We get a certificate. We really, put a lot of verbal praise behind our clients. We have one gentleman getting ready to move on to the second phase. We're really excited for him. And he's had some setbacks, but he hadn't relapsed. So that just says that, we're really effective. And I can't wait to see the results once we maximize up to 25 or 30 people and we really start getting these folks through the cycle. All right? Here are some of the issues and recommendations that we have. Of course, we'd love ultimately to have full funding, but we are grateful for whatever we get because, we we're going to, raise money and talk to different community folks and kind of build the capacity there. Support from the county grant writers. I've reached out so far, especially for the big BGA grants and stuff, because that'll obviously have to go through the county. So we're going to reach out for that as well. And some of the, new in collaborations with bordering counties. That's something that eventually the governor wants us to do. And part of Veterans Treatment Court is to be a regional court for the area, and that's kind of bigger than what we can do right now. So we're going to take that in phases. So eventually we'll get there. But we certainly, what we're doing now is we're asking people to work with us here in Buncombe County. And then once we figure that expansion model out, we'll move towards that. And this is kind of our warrior ethos. We never leave a fallen comrade. And the mentors and folks that work around the veterans really see this as it's a part of who they are. And when they go to the court and they see that judge and they talk to the judge, and many of you know Judge Pope, but he's great with our veterans. I mean, he has great dialogue with them from the bench. I mean, he's very compassionate. He's very caring. And up front with them, especially when we have to do sanctions. And, sanction could be anything from an essay to a quick dip, 2 or 3 days in jail. But our team is we're very supportive of our veterans and the folks that we have, and we're doing our very best to make sure that we reinstate their life. And I also want to recognize Mr. Williams here for a second, if you would. He's one of the folks that publicly support us.
Can you put that back to slide number 12?
Sure. There you go.
First of all, thank you, commissioners and chairman, for putting this on the agenda and hearing this presentation tonight. I'm going to be very brief, but I want to explain why, in the district attorney's office, we're particularly excited about this project. And I think this slide here kind of sums it up. In the past, all our specialty courts have been focused on one thing: single diagnosis treatment, drug treatment court, sobriety court. What we're doing in Veterans Treatment Court is an entirely new thing. See on the right, you see heroin, cocaine addiction, meth, etc. On the left, you see the mental health diagnoses that really are a threat to public safety: PTSD, TBI, those kinds of things. And in the past, our system has pretty much, that's beyond our purview. That's not the kind of thing that we can handle in the criminal justice system. And if the offense is serious enough, obviously, or individuals placed on probation, probation is revoked, there's only one solution. What Veterans Treatment Court is designed to do is to source is to provide resources. We are resourced in this community through the VA center, the perhaps class of the nation, right down there in Otine, and all the support that we have here in the room today to provide services to folks, to reinstate them, to restore them to, I guess, lawful citizenship. And it's my contention that it's what is just simply right to do in terms of what folks have given to our country, to our society. It's just a component of justice, is sort of my feeling about why the district attorney's office is invested in Veterans Treatment Court. So you heard why I guess this request is made a little out of order, but with the support that we have, with the resources that we have in this community, it's my contention that the request is reasonable. What we need from the county through this request will allow us to move forward, to do simple things like drug screens for participants, find that transitional housing, stabilize vets in our community. And I just ask the county commission to take those things into consideration. It's I contend it's the patriotic thing to do, and I'd ask for your support.
Again, I wanted to say thank you, and I'm certainly open for questions. My team is here open for questions. One more request that we talked about last Friday at our staffing. We were wondering for the week of Veterans Day if we can light up the courthouse red, white, and blue. We just felt like that would be a nice thing to do, just to show our support for veterans for that week, if not the month, but maybe that week. And so with that, are there any questions?
Any questions?
I have a few.
Yes, ma'am. Commissioner.
So it's just really super program. And so one of my questions is, so we're the third in North Carolina?
We are.
And so
we
what
are
are
the third.
What are the other two?
Well, Cumberland and Harnett County. Harnett's the first, Cumberland by a couple months, and then and then us. It was one of those things that when the governor was looking for resources and things to put out, because some of the money had gone out of drug courts and some of the specialty courts. In Buffalo, New York, in 2008, they saw this huge amount of soldiers coming back. A gentleman named Judge Russell began the whole Veterans Treatment Court idea. In North Carolina, came around and wanted to invest in that as well. And I guess there's about roughly 300 plus veterans court across the United States. Our team, we're getting ready to go to Rochester, New York on the 13th or the 15th, I believe, to review Rochester's Veterans Treatment Court. We just recently had the Justice for Vets team, federal training team, come through and support us with the guidelines. And so we're very new, but it's very innovative for Western North Carolina. It's going to make a huge difference. Once this court is fully implemented, the services and things that it can provide for Western North Carolina and for Buncombe County is going to be tremendous. It's going to be tremendous.
It's exciting, and I'm sorry your evaluator had to leave, but I bet you can handle these questions.
She had class, so
she's totally fine. But so I'm just curious, because you talked about like how long the program was, and so does the evaluation happen after is that person monitored afterwards too, or is it just through the program?
Yes, ma'am. What happens is we do kind of a pre-test and a post-test. So right now we're doing all our pre-examinations of the clients. Why were you here? Drugs of choice, like just kind of trying to get some baseline data of who our veterans are that are coming through this court. Not only that, we keep track. Once they finish the 5 phases, at the end, they have a year, and we reevaluate at the end as well. Also with that, there are certain risk assessments that we'll be doing too periodically to kind of see where our clients are.
So that makes sense, because I think the type of issues that y'all are addressing are not done in one cycle. This is a ongoing thing to kind of connect with. So does the mentor piece continue to happen after the graduation, or is it just kind of during the, how does that work?
Yes, absolutely. The mentor piece is really interesting, and we hope that the mentors, they forge such a relationship that they stay engaged, for as long as they live, hopefully. But the requirement is also that year after.
Gotcha.
So once they finish treatment the year after, and what we're doing is we are matching them at the beginning of their court phases. And so they have this mentor going in and working with the veterans from beginning to end. And like I said, hopefully even the year after the phases, they continue to communicate.
So is the model that we're bringing here to Buncombe, is it kind of like the other models in North Carolina, or is it we've designed it to fit our needs, or is it a hybrid of both, or?
Well, no, actually. Well, we are very fortunate that, one, we're Superior Court, so we're dealing with felonies. Some of the other courts, like Harnett, they deal with a lot of misdemeanors, primarily misdemeanors. So they're getting a lot of people through and doing that. We are high risk, high need, so we are taking the most difficult challenges and trying to restore some of what these individuals have, which is really interesting. We have been fortunate enough to learn from the other two, kind of their bumps and bruises. So, I guess everybody wants to be number one, but, being number three is okay because, we've learned. I stay in close contact with the other two court coordinators, and we just really, really learn from what they're doing.
Nice.
And so we're kind of unique that we're Superior Court.
Nice.
Really briefly. Part of our, we have a lot of institutional competence in running specialty courts through the drug treatment courts and the other courts that we've facilitated through the DA's office. The public defenders have participated in that. Probation has participated in that. And it's all been through Superior Court for about 15, 16 years now. So, our Buncombe County Veterans Treatment Court is it's evolved from the experience that we've had. It is different in that it has, different sorts of participants and the psychiatric components and the VA piece. But fundamentally, it's a treatment court modeled similarly to drug treatment court with just bigger.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Was there a reason to deal only with felony convictions and?
It's a 18-month minimum process, correct?
Yeah, 12-month minimum, but we figure 12 to 18 months.
And the reason for that is, if a trespassing charge, say, a misdemeanor, where the maximum possible sentence is 20 days in jail, perhaps there's not enough incentive to get an individual to buy in to the rigorous treatment protocols and probationary requirements of a lengthy, protracted treatment program.
So is this the only veterans court in the state that deals with felony conviction?
No, ma'am.
No. The other courts deal with Cumberland, mostly deals with other felonies, but we are primarily felony. And we can deal with some high-level misdemeanors as well.
What's the breakout of men and women right now?
What's that?
Are there any women that are going through it as well?
Right now, we don't have any women going through that, but we are actively identifying women through some of the ABCCM and some of our community outreach. We are working with some female veterans through the VA. And of course, Ms. Stewart is kind of our pipeline to many of those folks that we need to serve. I've got one phone call. I think there is one individual going through some rehab right now that we're considering that she's made a couple phone calls, so we have to really look at that case.
You said you had 4 clients right now. What would the capacity be?
We will be serving 25 at a time. Of course, people will be cycling off, but we've left room for 30 just in case we have some emergency cases that we need to get in. So maximum 30 at any time, at any one time.
Do we not have more than 4 in the pipeline?
Yeah, we'll have 7 in by November 2nd.
But how long have you had the 4?
November 2nd. Yeah.
How long has the 4 been in the pipeline?
Since June 22nd, I believe, somewhere in June. Yeah.
Thank you.
All righty, any other questions?
I just have one more.
Yes, ma'am.
So just walk me through really quick. How is the initial contact first made?
What's that now?
How is the initial contact first made?
Well, several ways. Primarily through Katie and outreach, our Buncombe County Jail. The Sheriff's Department has been an outstanding partner to us, helping us identify veterans that get arrested. And so just different referrals, attorney referrals. The Public Defender's Office has been a great source of referrals. So that's how folks are coming to us.
So they come to you as opposed to seeking them out.
Right. Because the important thing is one, we have to protect their rights. So I really can't even screen the different participants until that gets to our ADA and then our public defender. They make sure everyone has their attorneys, make sure their rights are protected. Then we meet as a team and we say, should I go out and screen them? I go out and screen them wherever they are. Screen them, then I bring that back to the team, and then we make a decision on if it'll be a good candidate, and of course, things that automatically exclude you are violent crimes and any crimes with children. So we try to, mostly we're dealing with folks with larceny, probation violations, and drug issues.
So
I
cool.
just had one question, and just to clarify, in terms of
the role that Buncombe County would play in this and the other funding sources for this. So the grant from the state was from the Governor's
Crime Commission.
Yeah. Right. So that funding is basically covering the overhead costs for this program. So
my actual salary and some office supplies, and that's it.
So the overhead costs of this program are basically taken care of, and so Buncombe County's role is to, as clients come into the process, and you look at their individual needs, to kind of help them get, on track and address the specific issues that maybe got them in this situation.
Right.
Then the funds that we would put in, which sound pretty modest within the totality of what this program is going to be, will go basically directly to help those veterans' specific needs.
Right.
And that's the role we would play to supplement, because you've already got your overhead costs basically covered.
None's going to me. Yeah. And part of that too is also to show the community when we do our other efforts is that our community has invested some into our program, and that we can carry that message out and raise more funds privately if we need to. Like I said, when I came on board, we have to have these these are critical needs issues. These are not just fluff things. We absolutely have to have drug tests. We absolutely have to have access to housing and stabilization, transportation, just basic needs. And right now, probation and folks are working with us to get some of these things done now. So we're very appreciative of them supporting us thus far and trying to eke out some resources for that.
All right, any other questions or comments? Kevin was kind of obscured behind, so Kevin, I appreciate Kevin Turner, our Buncombe County Veteran Service Rep, and all of you, ladies and gentlemen, that have come on behalf of it. It's a big deal to us, and we understand it. All right, any other questions? Is there a motion to approve the allocation?
So moved.
A motion by Commissioner Frost. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner DeBrule. Is there any discussion?
Well, I'll just want to say I can't think of a better thing to do before Veterans Day than to support this effort, and so.
Oh, he's just also reminded me. See, he wants to come up here and just tell me. But I also want to let you know that through our district attorney's office, we're having Veterans Amnesty Day. I don't know if you guys have seen the press release, but the district attorney has really worked with us to help a lot of those misdemeanor charges and things that we're talking about to provide some relief for veterans as well. So,
great. All right.
And then just from a, I also just want to say thanks to all of you for being here and being at the meeting. I think this is an important investment. It's a modest investment within the totality of what our community is trying to do to support veterans. But I'm glad we can play a part in it.
Thank you so much.
And we owe it to these people who've done so much for our country. Just from a process standpoint, if we go ahead with this, because this is a need that's not going to be. You don't solve this in a year or two. This is going to be an ongoing need. So as we think about this going forward, this is a new initiative. And for next year, if you wanted to request continuing support from Buncombe County, it would go through our budget process along with the others, and we can evaluate how's the first year gone, and how does this look going forward. So that would be the process we would look at for future consideration.
That's more than fair, and we're just very grateful. We're just grateful.
Great, thank you.
All right, there's been a motion by Commissioner Frost, a second by Commissioner DeBrule. Is there any other discussion or comments before we vote? Hearing none, I'll call the motion. All those in favor of the $10,000 allocation, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Then that motion is adopted by a 7-0 vote. Thank y'all for all your time and sitting through the meeting. Board appointments. We have two appointments tonight. We have Tourism Development Authority. Gary Froba and Craig Madison have been nominated. I'll ask the clerk to poll the board.
Start on that end.
Madison.
Froba. Madison.
Froba.
Froba.
Craig Madison.
Froba.
Okay, I believe Mr. Froba has been appointed by 4-3. And then we have Adult Care Home Community Advisory Committee. Are there any nominations?
Nominate Sharon White.
All right, Ms. Wright's been nominated. Any other nominations? All those in favor of Sharon White to be appointed to that committee, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. She is so appointed. We do not have a closed session tonight. Our next meeting will be December 1 at 4:30 at room 326 at 200 College Street in downtown Asheville. Is there any other business to come before the board? If not, is there a motion to adjourn? Motion by the vice chair. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Fryer. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. We're adjourned.